How good are the rank 14 weapons? I said in my previous videos that rank 13 armor is not always worth it because rank 13 armor is chest piece, helmet and shoulders, and your chest piece and helmet are Savage Gladiator Chain and Lionheart, so those are better than the rank 14 ones. And you can get Drake Talon from BWL, they are almost as good. Of course the AQ40 shoulders are better, so there is a strong argument to make in my opinion that a lot of people do not need rank 13. But how about rank 14? Are the weapons worth it? Well, currently, right now, today, of course they are. If you are rank 12 and you are thinking about it, you should definitely get them because they are best in slot in the main hand. But we are getting a new phase and we are getting AQ after that very soon, and on top of that, there is a bit of a problem when it comes to orcs in particular. So what is it really? Well, first of all, that's the main thing we're gonna talk about. The weapon type is something you unironically need to consider because of racials, because you can get a main hander, a good main hander, you can get it on axe form or on sword form, that one is the same, but the problem is that you can only get two different off-handers. Of course, an off-hander has to be fast, so you can get good uptime on deep wounds. We went over that in many videos, I'm not gonna talk too much about that, but you want a fast off-hander. Now, you could go for double main handers because if you take a look at the main hander axe, it is not unique and it says one hand, so you can equip double main hand axes, for example, but that is not ideal. Now, for whatever reason, that is not a problem for swords. As you see right here, there is the quick blade, which is the off-hander of choice, 1.80 weapon speed, same DPS, 59 DPS, 1% crit, 28 attack power. It is outrageously good. Everything you could want on an off-hander is here. There is also the dagger. Now daggers, this dagger is not better than the sword. You can see right here, the sword is slightly faster, but if you do not have edge masters, if you are a dagger warrior, God help your soul, if you got the dagger belt and you wanna go double daggers, you can go for these two. You might. It is better than Perdition Blade, you got that going on, but we are not gonna meme on that. If you are going for rank 14 and you're a tryhard, right, you got three options. You are an orc, you go axes, you are a human, you go swords, or you got edge masters and you can go sword, dagger and axes. If you are a human or if you got edge masters, you're gonna go for the High Warlord Blade or the Grand Marshal Blade. It's the same weapon in the Alliance, okay? The main hander is 59 DPS, which is amazing, and 1% crit and 28 attack power on top of that. Now, if we compare it to current content, the best non-rank 14 weapon you can get currently, that is the Chromatically Tempered Sword. Now, this sword has 58 DPS, which is virtually the same DPS, but it is 2.6. You want the slowest main hander possible, especially if you're in the Horde, but it is still a thing in the Alliance. You want a slow main hander for whirlwind damage, so that's a win for the rank 14 one. But that one is still pretty close. If you got a Chromatically Tempered Sword, you can call yourself best in slot, even though it's not quite, it is almost there. The problem if you are a human is that there is no good fast swords that you can go for. You can go for slow swords. There is Biskag from Onyxia, for example, which is really good, but Biskag is a main hander sword. It is slow. You don't want a slow off-hander like we spoke. If you got edge masters, you can go for some dagger like Corehound Tooth, but this one is 51 DPS. That is way less than the 60 you can get from the rank 14 weapon. So if you are a human, you will enjoy a 10 DPS upgrade when you go for rank 14. If you got edge masters, you have a decent choice in Molten Core, the Perdition Blade. Now this is beyond absolutely best in slot for rogues. It has 58 DPS, a speed of 1.80. It is everything you would look for in an off-hander for a warrior. Remember guys, edge masters gives you daggers too, so this is very much something you can go for. But are you gonna get this off a rogue? I think you're prying this dagger off a rogue's dead body. It is very unlikely that you can get a Perdition's Blade on normal circumstances. You could, and you can make a very good argument that this is unironically your best in slot, but people are not gonna be happy about it, okay? People are not gonna be happy about you taking this dagger. I don't know, maybe you can run a split in Molten Core and like poke a bunch of casters and make your own runs. Something like that could work. So conclusion number one, if you're a human, you need rank 14 for the off-hander. If you have Edge Masters, you can get a decent main hander in Chromatically Tempered Sword and a decent off-hander in Perdition Blade, but also, here's the thing about warriors, okay? If you are an orc, yes, you can go for the main hander axe, and it is better because the best non-rank 14 main hander you can go for, believe it or not, is the Deathbringer. And this thing, even though the speed is right, it is only 56 DPS and it doesn't have crit and it doesn't have attack power. Don't get me wrong, if you got this axe, that's a really good axe. But a 5 DPS difference and no stats is very significant. The rank 14 axe is way better than that. So as an orc, you really should go for rank 14 if you wanna get best in slot. There is no other way around it. However, there is no good offhander for an orc. Even though using the cleaver as an offhander is a decent choice, this is nowhere near what you should go for, because the absolute best in slot is going to be Cruel Shoruk from BWL, 62 DPS and a speed of 230, but this is the best fast axe you can get, and on top of that it is more DPS than the rank 14 one, so this will be a very sought after weapon, because all the orc rank 14 warriors are gonna need it. You are gonna see in the Horde that a lot of guilds prioritize this for orcs. A lot of guilds have a policy of not letting non-orcs roll on this weapon, because if you are not an orc, you can go for rank 14 or for a dagger or for whatever because you got Edge Masters, but if you are an orc, this is your only decent choice for an offhander, and that kinda sucks, but it is what it is. But yes, because there is no good choice for a main hander, you gotta go for the Onyxia axe, otherwise orcs also need rank 14. Now the follow-up question that everybody is gonna ask me is, when does the raiding weapons become better than the rank 14 weapons? Now that's a good question. Now there is two weapons that you're gonna take a look at in AQ40, which is coming pretty soon if we look at the timeline. Like we can assume it's coming out in about a month or maybe 2 months, so AQ40 is not that far away. You get a new offhander in daggers in the form of Dead Sting, but as I told you before, right, Perdition Blade was already better than the rank 14 one, or as good, really, it's about as good, but Dead Sting has a DPS of 66. It also gives you +3 to daggers, which if you got Edge Masters already, it doesn't do much, but 66 DPS, a speed of 180 and 38 attack power, this dagger is freaking amazing. So this is the first weapon that is objectively better than the rank 14 one, and the next one is one that I would say is an analog of the rank 14 sword. It is a sword of 2.80, very slow, but 0.1 faster than rank 14. Not significant, right? It is pretty much the same, and a DPS of 58, 1% crit and 20 attack power, so it is basically the same sword as the rank 14 one, but with 8 less attack power. Look at it that way. So you could get this sword and skip the rank 14 main hander, but the problem, it is a very rare drop from Fankris. Okay, it's a 9% drop chance, and every warrior is gonna want this, okay? If they got Edge Masters or if they are humans, every non-rank 14 person is gonna want it, so your chances of getting this are also extremely low. But you could, and you may be asking, what about access? There is no access. There is a two-hander axe in here, but two-handers is a whole separate topic where I'm gonna cover it briefly at the end. But in a nutshell, AQ40 is gonna give you, if you got Edge Masters, a new best in slot dagger. The dagger is better than the rank 14 off-hander. If you're a human, you're gonna get a main hander that is about pretty much the same as the rank 14 one. And if you're an orc, you don't get squat. You can skip AQ40 basically. So for a better weapon than the rank 14 weapon, we're gonna have to wait for Nax Ramas. And now Nax Ramas actually gives you a lot of good choices. This sword is considered the best sword in the game, Gresildon or Ruin, at 2.70 speed, but 73 DPS, okay? This thing has almost the same DPS as Bone River's Edge, and it is a one-hander. So yes, needless to say, this thing hits like hell, and every warrior is gonna want it. You see in the picture there is an orc using this sword. And why is that? Well, that's gonna take us to the other best in slot weapon you can get. The best off-hander in the game is the Hungering Cold, with also a DPS of 73 and a speed of 1.50, which funnily enough it makes it the best tanking weapon that isn't Thunder Fury. So if you do not have Thunder Fury and you're a tank, this is also a good main hander, but it is obviously intended as an off-hander, extremely fast, and it gives you 6 skill to swords. So yes, you can get a racial for swords, even if you do not have edge masters, or if you are not an orc or whatever, you can also go swords. Endgame, full best in slot, everybody is swords, because these are the two best weapons in the game. They both drop from Kel to Sad, and they are fairly rare, but this is what everybody is gonna go for. Eventually, this is the end game. There is, however, some other options in Nax Ramas. You can get from Not this axe, which is 260, not ideal, but it is decent speed and 65 DPS. Now, I could sim it, but let me tell you, if you're an orc, this and rank 14 weapon are pretty much the same. They are about as good. Maybe this one is a little bit better, but they are pretty much the same weapon. So you can get this one as a main hander to skip the rank 14 grind. And remember, your best in slot axe was Cruel Shoruk, so you can go for double axe by Nax Ramas and you never have to do rank 14. There is also, if you're a human, because sometimes people forget, humans also get a racial for maces. There is two good maces you can go for. There is the Castigator, 1% crit, 1% hit, really good weapon, 65 freaking DPS. Obviously not nearly as good as Gresil, but I mean, beggars can't be choosers. This is still way better than the rank 14 weapon. There is also the Misplaced Servo Arm, a speed of 2.80 and a 65 DPS. It is decent, but since it doesn't have many stats, depending on your gear, this might be worse or better than the rank 14 one. But I mean, if you're a human, and only if you're a human, by the way, these two maces could be a consideration for you. You could consider yourself better than rank 14 with these two. And for offhanders, you also get a second option. This is basically a Cruel Shoruk, but in sword form. It drops from Instructor Rasuvius, 1% crit, 1% hit, 62 DPS at 1.60 speed. Way better than the rank 14 offhander, but I assume if you're in the Alliance, this is also gonna be very sought after, because it is better than anything you can get except for Hungering Cold. Some guilds like doing a priority of this sword for humans, because that way they can get Hungering Cold to non-humans, but that isn't every guild, because this is not best in slot for humans. Humans still go for Hungering Cold because it has 10 more freaking DPS on it, but that is a policy that some guilds will take. If you agree with it or not, that's up to you, but needless to say, a faster offhander with more DPS is always better than rank 14, so you also got that going on. But that is where the options end. So if you're a traditional dual wield Fury Warrior, or if you're a tank really, tanks get a freebie because they can go for Thunder Fury and they only need an offhander, and they can always get like a dagger or something. The offhander is not that important if you're a tank, because unless you're a human, you're going for Edge Masters or daggers, so you got options. You can go for Perdition, for example, in Molten Core, and that's an analog of the rank 14 one, and you are set with that. So you could say tanks can skip the rank 14 grind. They could benefit from rank 14 though for an offhander, easier offhander, but they do not really have to. Thunder Fury and daggers will do, but everybody else until Nax Ramas, there is not a lot of great choices, because you either are an orc and you need a main hander, or you are a human and you need an offhander. If you got Edge Masters, you can mix and match and take something like a Chromatically Tempered Sword and a Perdition Blade, for example, but you are relying on taking two extremely best in slot items from two classes, because rogues also want them. On a 40-man raid where you get very limited drops, there is like what, a 13% chance every Molten Core that it even drops. You would have to be extremely lucky to get two best in slot weapons from a raid. So yes, conclusion is you absolutely need to do rank 14. Now when it comes to two-handers, it is not quite so grim anymore. Two-handers have very little competition because two-handers are not meta for PvE. It is mostly people rolling for off-spec so they can go to PvP with them. If you look at the two-handers you can get in rank 14, the Battle Axe for example, 77 DPS, really good. They are very high stamina, which is for PvP obviously, and a speed of 380. I don't have to tell you that these things slap. However, Ash Candy is gonna hit harder, that's from Blackwing Lair. Corrupted Ashbringer, of course, from Nax Ramas. It is 90 freaking DPS, so of course this one is gonna be better in Nax Ramas. Kalimdor's Revenge from Khotun, it is 81 DPS, it is really fast, but for PvE it is still seeming better than the rank 14 weapons. For most people, depends on your crit. You also got the Claymore of Unholy Might from Nax Ramas as well. It is about the same, slightly worse maybe, but pretty good. Bone Reaver's Edge is gonna do better in PvE for a human than any of those weapons. Bone Reaver's Edge has a broken as hell proc, 75 DPS in Molten Core, man. Like, this thing is so overtuned. You also got the Untamed Blade, which should be seeming about the same as the rank 14 weapons. Really fun in PvP, by the way. Like, getting that 300 strength proc and just one tap in a Clotty, nothing compares to that. And if you are an orc, you also got the Dark Edge of Insanity from Khotun. This thing is probably best in slot for PvP because that fear proc is really strong. And it has 86 freaking DPS, so you cannot go wrong for that. So if you wanna go two-handers, you don't have to go for rank 14. Unless you are an orc, until AQ40 there is not a better weapon you can get. But if you're a human or if you do not have a racial, there is plenty of better or as good weapons you can get. So two-handers, rank 14 is not that worth it. And you might be telling me, because I know you're clever, but Medina, you need a two-hander for PvP. Yes, but if you're rank 14, why do you need to PvP though? Didn't you think about that though? But the cruel reality is that even if you can get a better weapon from a raid, you are probably not gonna get it. And currently, no matter what your racial is, unless you get an Edge Masters, it is simply impossible to achieve a best in slot state without rank 14. Whether you're a human or an orc, there is no two weapons. There is only one that you can get better in a raid. So get that rank 14, complain to Blizzard about PvP. Hopefully they nerf it to the ground and that would be super fun. But they are probably not gonna do it. If it were up to me, I would make PvP gear hard to get again because I think this is ruining gear progression. There is literally very little reason to go do AQ40 if you're rank 14. Not to mention there is only one item in BWL that you even need. And that's sad. That's sad. But I guess we're gonna AFK in Alterac Valley for a while. Subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.